All right, I'm just going to close my eyes and take 3 deep breaths. If anybody would like to join me, I think instead of staring into the camera blankly until someone asks a question, I just want to kind of ground a little bit and just get present and slow my nerves, because I still get nervous doing these. I don't know why. Probably because it's the unknown. We never know where we're going to go. So I'm going to close my eyes and take 3 deep breaths. If you guys want to join me, we'll kind of just breathe for a moment. This could be really, really great if you have an open solar plexus as well. Okay, I feel better already. It's not wild how just 3 deep breaths can bring you back to yourself so quickly. I do it before all of my sessions now. Together we just connect and take 3 deep breaths, and then I always have so much insight that comes to me, and I see their design in my mind, and like where I need to focus comes to me, and like the energy comes to me, and just all these, it's just like really, really clear where I'm headed and where I'm going to go and what the session requires, just from this short time closing my eyes and some breaths. So I had a reading once, and the woman told me how important just slow, deep breathing is for me, because of how open my design is. So if you have a really, really open design, especially the open solar plexus, because this has to do with our emotions and our nervous system, it can be so healthy throughout the day. Just to take a quick breather, 3 deep breaths, and check in with yourself, and kind of, yeah, it just grounds me, resets me back to my normal frequency, which isn't stress and running around. It was probably my open route too, so. No, I'm still nervous for these things. I'm still nervous to show up online. I'm still nervous to post vulnerable things. I still have vulnerability hangovers. I don't know if it ever goes away, you know. Being seen. The post I did yesterday, I'm still like, this morning, wake up like, what did I say? What did I put out there? But in that moment, that's what was real for me. And you know, it is so easy to judge ourselves after we have a big vulnerable sharing. But I don't let that voice dictate how I express myself anymore. And that feels, it feels like, I don't know if it's like a no choice kind of thing, but I won't allow myself to delete something anymore. Like if I post something and it's vulnerable and it really felt authentic in the moment, I will not allow myself to delete it. So many times my mind is like, you need to take that down. What were you thinking? I'm sure people resonate with that. But I think that's the beautiful part of this existence, is like, if I look on my Instagram and I go back through all my posts, sometimes I read a post of mine, I'm like, ugh, I don't feel that way anymore, you know? But it doesn't mean I should get rid of it, because that's just part of my journey. It's, you know, especially as a third line, or for all of us, this is not a journey of perfection. It's a journey of discovery. And I look at those past versions of myself, and yeah, sometimes it's cringe to look at it, but if you don't want to look, there's something you're not feeling still. There's something you're still hiding from. So I can look back and really love all these versions of myself, and all the stupid things I've said, and all the cringe emotional moments I've had, and what are you gonna do? You know, that's where I was. But it's hard in the beginning. I have a lot of people reach out and ask me for advice on that. Like, how did you start sharing vulnerably online? Does it still freak you out? Like, you know, how did you take that first step? And you'll find, and I've said this before, but once you take the leap, once you really vulnerably share, not something good, but some like pain that lives within you that you know is there, but you aren't telling anybody because you're avoiding or you're embarrassed or whatever it is. Once you really let that out, you'll be so shocked about the positive reaction that you have from people and all the support that comes pouring in. And, we all really resonate with each other in the pain because we've all experienced the pain, because the not self is so homogenized, and not self pain is we can resonate with each other because it's the same, the avoidance is the same, the proving is the same, the inadequacy is the same. Like the not self is so homogenized and so similar. So when you share your pain, guaranteed, even if no one says anything, you're having so many people resonating with you, and you're helping a lot of people just by sharing vulnerably. And when we share our successes and our uniqueness, it's so different because that's unique to us. What works for me doesn't work for everybody. So it's harder to resonate in the positivity and in our wins and in our success, because success is unique to each person. So I think that's why when I post things that are really great or something that is amazing that happened to me, there's less resonance. There's those people who really want to support me and like to see me do well, which feels very, very good. But when I share the pain, it's such a shared experience, and that's what I love the most, is being able to vulnerably connect to somebody in the shadow, in the pain, because that just makes your experience feel so validated and like you're not alone. And for so long, I felt like I was completely alone. I wrote that yesterday. I was the funny, smiley projector that was surrounded by all these people, and I felt so alone in my experience of life. And so finally sharing it, I don't feel alone anymore. I feel so supported. But it took me coming out and vulnerably saying, hey, I've been depressed. Hey, I'm not doing well. I'm physically not well. I'm mentally struggling. And that's when all the support started pouring in. Petra, you did that an hour ago? Do you want to share? I'll go look after this, but how did it feel? Are you getting support? Are you getting people reaching out? It's hard. But I think part of my energy, if you look at my design, the 2551, I think it really is here to get people to do what they normally wouldn't. So I'm really good at getting people to leap, which is like a big responsibility sometimes, I wonder how many people have quit their jobs because of me. I know a few ex-girlfriends have quit their safe job that was killing their soul to be entrepreneurial and do something that they love. I've had a big role in at least a few people taking the step to living their purpose. So who needs to jump? Someone share who's struggling with taking that quantum leap towards their purpose and their calling, because we know what it is. Okay, Petra said that she just vulnerably shared, and now she says, I haven't massively overshared, but it already happened, and neither do I delete my personal posts after the fact anymore. No reactions on Facebook yet. Don't know. Well, I'll go read it after this live, and I see you and support you in continuing to overshare. I'm the classic oversharer, and this was something that was really difficult for me. I had a mentor, and he told me once, like, if you're not sure if you should say it, then just don't say it. Keep it to yourself. If there's even a little bit of I don't know if I should share this, then just don't. And I'm literally the opposite. I'm like, if it comes up inside of me, I'm getting it out. I'm going to share it, and I'll deal with the repercussions later. And I think that's a much healthier way to live this life, because I think there's a lot more that needs to come out and wants to come out than there ever is in the oversharing department, at least in this society. We've been taught to be so private. Me and my sister was making chocolate chip cookies last night, and we had, I don't know why the story's coming out now, but we were out of butter and we needed to go get some butter, and we didn't want to go to the store, and we were going to go to a neighbor's house, and we were both like, wow, neighbors don't even do this anymore. We felt awkward going over to a neighbor's house to ask for a stick of butter, and we're like, what's happened to this society? We're all in our closed little boxes, like afraid to share anything with anybody. And we did it anyways, and we went over, and these scenarios, like, people are so happy that someone came over to ask for the butter, and we had a great conversation and we interacted, and it's like, wow, just you could be the one to take that first step that leads to connection with another human being that fills both of our cups. And I think that's why I overshare. Because there's always a chance when you say something, even if you think you shouldn't, that it's going to lead to a deeper connection with somebody else, or it's going to, really bring insight to somebody else. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So my advice always is go for oversharing. And I think the world would be a better place if we all did that. Okay, Chris says, I quit my job with no backup plan other than what I feel called to do, travel and paint. My body won't let me work a normal job anymore. Congratulations to you. I was going to say, what's the fear coming up? But it's obviously a money thing, because that's, again, back to our normal, homogenized, not self fears and pain. It's always money for everybody. To me, backup plans are a recipe for your failure. It's a recipe for you not to go 100% into your passion and your purpose and your being and your frequency and who you are and what's going to attract all the beautiful wealth and relationship and opportunity in your life. I'll work this job to pay my bills. And I did that also. I was a waiter on and off for like 10 years. I was in the restaurant industry. And that was kind of not my backup plan, but that's what paid my bills. But I was so exhausted as a projector that after I would get off those long shifts, I wouldn't have much energy to then focus on what I really wanted to do. So it was a slow process to me from working a job like hospitality that paid the bills to doing what I love. There's a lot of nuance in there of how we can do that as projectors and everybody. But congratulations, Chris. I'm excited for you. Okay, Petra says she's a splenic projector as well. Specific activations. Nervousness is actually a big signpost for me in terms of not doing it in the moment. It's actually better. So you mean that when you're nervous, that's a good sign that you should share something. And I had a friend of mine, we were talking about splenic hits. And she said, do you ever notice that when you do have something like a splenic yes come, that it's usually accompanied with like a wave of fear? And I started thinking back to all the things I've noticed were really coming from my spleen, the decisions I was making, and there really was fear involved with all of them. But I think what you're pointing to is it really can be a nervousness of that open solar plexus. I don't know what this is going to bring. I don't know where this is going to take me. When I share something vulnerably because it just wants to come out in the moment, that could be a splenic decision for me, needing to get something out that's going to bring more health and well-being to my body. But then that open solar plexus says, avoid truth and confrontation. Don't make anybody feel uncomfortable, because I don't want that emotional blowback. I don't want to process, a confrontation and truth. So I think that's a really, really good point, Petra, is, when we do things that are aligned, we're going to get these pings from our not self in these open centers that are going to feel uncomfortable, and we can mistake that. The mind can manipulate that and say, hey, this isn't good for you because look how uncomfortable you are. Look at how nervous you are. So I did 2 years of acting school out of high school, and then I had an agent and was going on commercial auditions and trying to do that life for I think like a year before I couldn't take it anymore. But I noticed like when I would go to auditions, I would be so nervous, like I thought there was something wrong with me because I would get nervous to the point of like my body would shake. Like I would get like shivers almost because I was so nervous. And then when I found my human design chart, I heard from other people, like if you have an open solar plexus and an open root, you know, this adrenaline, this pressure that you could feel in a scenario like that, accompanied with this nervousness of the open solar plexus, wow, we can really, 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 when we're not comfortable in our own skin, feel intense sensations in our body when we're nervous or when we're in these kinds of situations. So I wonder if anybody on here has an open root or open solar plexus, if you have felt similar levels of nervousness if you're going up for public speaking or an audition, or you have something important where you're going to be seen and you want it to go well. Okay, Chris says, normie jobs make me feel dead inside. Yeah, I think they do that to everybody. Art is the only thing that gives me energy, so I couldn't ignore it anymore. It's too physically painful, as dramatic as that sounds. I still have my Neptune is still in the 36. I can still be dramatic for another month. So no, it doesn't sound dramatic. And that's the problem of human design. You need to be really careful about human design. And I just wrote a email about this, that I wouldn't recommend it to most people, honestly, after 3.5 years of being in the experiment. Because once you see it and once you get a taste of who you really are and what that frequency is like, it is impossible to go back. I could never, ever have a boss again. Like, I just couldn't. I would be broke and alone and wandering the streets before I would ever have a job where I had a boss. Like, it doesn't fit with my frequency and my design. And it's not like society is going back to normal anyways. And this is what this new year is all about, and the shift in 2027. Like, forget about it. It's not this normal world that we've come to know for the last 400 years is changing in 2 years, and it's never ever coming back. So life as we know it is going to cease to exist. And we're going to be shifting into a completely new frequency, which is so important that we align to who we are. And it's going to be about this kind of individual, busy selfishness, surviving, and when we can tap into the truth of who we are and how to make decisions, you know, that's going to give us the life that we're meant to get as we move through such a transition. So I think about kids who are in school today, or you know, kids, young kids who are still being brought up in this system that's obviously failing, and it's like, once it all goes away, the degree they're studying for is literally not even going to be there, or it's like this is what I think is really wrong with what we're telling or not telling our young people, because there's obviously an epidemic of young people with depression and anxiety, and you know, they're on all these medications, and you know, there's just this, you can tell there's this lack of well-being and this confusion in young people. And I really think it's because as the world is changing so radically and we're moving into this completely different background frequency in 2027, we're still, no one's talking about it. No one's talking, you know, people still think this is normal change that we're going through, and they don't realize what a massive quantum leap it is. And so we're still making kids go to school in these systems. We're still acting like everything's normal when there is not a shred of normalcy left in the world anymore. Take a look out there. It is not normal. Since COVID happened, we are in a completely uncharted territory. But no one talk about oversharing again. Like why aren't we talking about this with our kids? We need to be setting them up for something else. And I think the problem is we don't know what's coming. We don't know how to guide our young people because we have no clue what the world is going to look like in a few years. So I think this is, the pressure that young people really feel is they were born in between these two worlds, where if their parents are blind and have their head in the sand, they're making them go to school, they're making them do the normal things, they're getting their test scores, they're going to their colleges, they're in this system. It obviously doesn't work. And they know it and we know it, but it's like we don't know what else to do, so let's just keep pretending that everything's okay. So I think, young people are so tapped in, they're more psychically gifted. Like the world we're moving into is much more about a spiritual communication between people, and there's a new consciousness coming into the world in 2027. And we just can't bullshit them. And they see their parents, they see these older generations that have no clue what's going on, and that has to be the most terrifying feeling for a young person when you realize these older generations are at a loss. Then what do you do? So I think a lot of it is just back to the beginning of this conversation. It is the unwillingness of everyone and parents and these older generations to admit that they don't know what's happening, and they don't know how to guide their children to be successful in a world that's changing so quickly and so dramatically. So yeah, can you imagine being in high school right now, or being in middle school right now? It's got to be such a wild time. I'm 37. I'll be 38 this year, and I got lucky because I still grew up without a cell phone until high school. I think I got my first cell phone. So I feel like my generation was the last one that got to go through that system and enjoy the perks and the benefits of feeling carefree and feeling like my future was going to be fine, and I had all these options and opportunities, and there kind of was a path at that stage of my life that was laid out that still worked, and you can tell that the older generations, my parents, they believed in it. They believed that it worked because it worked for them, and they were successful, and there wasn't this absolute chaos of change that's like lurking in the energy of our environment. So yeah, I feel like I got super lucky. Our generation got so lucky of being able to enjoy the last stages of the cross of planning before the chaos, and enjoy a world without technology. And we're young enough to learn the technology and adapt to it and enjoy what the technology has got to bring. And now we are mature enough, I think, adult enough to handle this chaos in a way that younger generations really can't, because they're not at that point. They're still living out. Well, I'm at home right now. They're still living at home, or they're still they're just young. And in human design, a really amazing thing I love about planetary cycles is, once we discovered Uranus, we moved from a Saturnian lifespan of like 30 plus years, where you were an adult at 18. In your 20s, you were really getting after it, fulfilling your purpose. And then after 30, you were kind of already on your way out. And once we discovered Uranus, that changed to an 84-year lifespan that we go through now. So if you extrapolate that, we're not really an adult until we're 44 now in our current cycle, because we're really here for this self-reflected consciousness, and that takes a long time to develop. So I like to say, we're not an adult until we're 44. 50 is when we really start to lean into who we are and can really fulfill our purpose and bring our gifts to the world. And then after that, it's just bonus time, where we get to really cultivate the self-reflected consciousness and awareness of what are we really doing here. So it's just such a different timetable than like I'm an adult at 18. If you're 18 or you're in your early 20s and you're stressed because you don't have it all figured out, book a session and we'll chat. Okay, call in design. Also just quit my job, still working on the leap to show up authentically here. Rather than hiding from my fears, I'm getting to know my fear and dancing with it. Congratulations on quitting your job. Who else has quit their job recently? You've been hanging out with me too much. But really, congratulations to you. I think that's a big step for people. Yeah, we got to face our fears. They say in human design that at the root of intelligence is fear, because when we're afraid of something, and I have fear motivation in my human design chart. So if you don't know about your motivation, we're all motivated by a certain theme. So mine is fear. And what I've really found with being motivated by fear is that if I'm afraid of something, I really just have to study it. I really just have to understand it. Fear is the first color motivation. And typically, once we understand why we're afraid, on the other side, we're not afraid anymore because we have an understanding of it, or we become aware of why the fear is healthy. But more often than not, I think we get rid of the fear because we realize, it was just a lack of information. And so at the root of why we are fearful, it was to get us to strategically come up with ways to survive, and ways to be healthy and vital and feel good. Lizzie, I'm a splenic projector 235. Welcome. I love your profile. I love 3/5s. I would like to be one in the next life. I think I would choose the 3/5. Another 3/5, my tiny greenhouse. All right, we got some 3/5s in the house. What is your tiny greenhouse? Yeah, we got some splenic projectors. Okay, Chris says, my body feels called to go somewhere warm year-round. Down south? I don't know, but I'm waiting for the poll to see what direction to go in geographically. Keep us posted. Petra says, yes, she has an open solar plexus with a hanging gate 36. And the gate 36 is the gate of emotional crisis, the gate of moving from inexperience to experience, wanting to be able to initiate a new experience, to feel a feeling with another human and share a cycle. So if you have an open solar plexus and you have gate 36 hanging, what could that mean for you? Maybe that what you know about emotion is crisis. And that could lead to you really avoiding truth and confrontation, especially if you've had a crazy upbringing or if you've been around emotionally unhealthy people who don't know how to process their own emotions. That could be an interesting one. Gabby also agrees. She has an open root and I have both root and solar plexus defined, but definitely know the nervousness. Okay, yes, we can be nervous, defined or undefined. Marie says she has an undefined root and solar plexus anytime performing as a solo singer or performer. Incredible physical nervousness until I got comfy in my own skin. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And I think I've had these ideas over the last couple of years, maybe I should try acting again. Maybe I should go on another audition. It kind of excites me now that I could show up and just splenically flow and just be so different. I think it would be really interesting now that I'm so much more comfortable with who I am to show up and do something like that. I think it sounds fun now instead of absolutely terrifying and trying to fix myself to be someone I thought they wanted. Gabby says, knowing human design and astrology, with these changes coming, it feels like I'm playing a game with cheat codes. Right? Isn't that the most beautiful part of all this stuff? I think that's all that it's here for. To me, human design is just a system for awareness. And when we know what's coming, it's not like you really realize you can't change anything. It's written in the stars, these massive changes that are coming. And when we think about Donald Trump, How fascinating is it that he's going to be the president that brings us into 2027 and beyond? And, it was the Rave New Year yesterday. And so for New Year's, you can create a chart at the time of the sun entering gate 41, the gate that starts the human experiential way, starts a new cycle. And so you can populate the chart and you can kind of get these themes for what the year is going to bring. And they call it the Rave New Year's forecast. And so it's really fascinating if you look at Donald Trump's chart and then you look at the Rave New Year's chart and then you look at the shift of 2027. It's like he, of course, is going to be the guy that's in that seat as we move through these changes. So in the Rave New Year forecast, what we have is an emotional manifestor with the 3536 channel defined. That's the only definition we have. So this, again, we just talked about gate 36 of emotional crisis. This is the channel of transitoriness. It can bring a lot of things we've never experienced before, but can also bring a lot of manifested emotions. So people being overly emotional, huge expectations that aren't met, chaos, maybe some progress, maybe not. You don't know until the cycle is over. So Donald Trump has this channel in his design, and he also has the 2145. And the 2145 is actually the expression, the full expression of the 3740, which the 3740 is in the background frequency of the cross of planning, which is the cross that we're in right now, which is about the bargain, which is about the family, which is about building churches and institutions and all these things. So the 3740 has been in the background frequency for 400 years, and it's really been the energy that has supported our creation of this crazy world that we live in. And the full expression of that, the end of that, is the next channel in the 2145, which Donald Trump has, which at the top, it's the only tribal gate that is in the throat. And the full expression of this energy is the haves and the have-nots. It's the voice that says, I have or I don't have. So I see like he is the final expression of this energy of the cross of planning, and it ends in the haves and the have-nots. And it's interesting to see who's getting in the government now, the richest man in the world. And a lot of billionaires and a lot of people who have so much material wealth. The tribe is about material and money and being successful. So it's just really, really interesting. I could go on for this forever. But to see this man that brings chaos and brings the final expression of the cross of planning, but our expectations or his expectations are not going to be met. And so people who are big Trump fans think he's going to come in and fix everything and it's going to be better. I see him as a person who's going to come in and literally destroy everything. Like it's just going to explode, and he's going to expose a lot of things. And again, life as we've known it isn't going to be able to exist once he gets done with whatever he's going to do in there. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying if back to the cheat codes comment, if you know what's written and what's coming for us astrologically and in the story of our evolution, it's just perfect. It just fits really nicely with the chaos and the massive change that we're feeling, and that's coming. So that'll be, maybe I should do another thing on that because it's really fascinating to look at his chart. Okay, Playful Being says she quit. I'm guessing you're talking about your job. She quit 10 years ago this year. Best thing I've ever done, but the conditioning does try to get you freaked out even though you have proof that it works and you can thrive. Yeah, God, I feel that deeply. It's like it's working out, but the mind never decides to relax into that. It just wants to constantly freak you out and freak you out and freak you out. And when you think about it, like how long have we been conditioned to feel that fear and play safe and have our safety net and our plan B, because that keeps us enslaved to the system and building these institutions that were meant to be built in this cross of planning. Everybody working together, sacrifice yourself for the greater good. We're all in it together. that's the energy that's going away. So there's going to be a lack of support within these institutions and in these giant corporations and companies. And I think we're going to see a lot of people lose their jobs, and we're going to see a lot of people just naturally want to go their own way and do their own thing because they feel like, hey, wait a second, I'm not getting paid enough for this. I'm not being supported. Inflation's insane. I can't even afford my normal quality of life anymore. Like what's happening? The support is really going away. Even if we're good and we're sacrificing and we're doing what we've been told to do, we're not being supported in a way that feels like we can survive anymore. What's up, D? 3-5, another 3-5. Wow, a lot of 3-5s on here. Okay. Nora says she quit her job for like the 5th time, but have 400 euros in my account again. So now what? What job are you quitting 5 times in a row? That's a good job if they keep taking you back. Maybe you should stay. Kidding. If you haven't checked out Nora's account, she's an amazing artist. She has some really, really beautiful work on there that I really appreciate. Hey, Lisa. How are you? Okay, likewise, Art. Hello. As a splenic person, I don't know how to plan and make goals or resolutions for 2025. My intention and resolution is always be more myself. And that's probably super cliche and sounds stupid. But I like to find, I was talking to someone yesterday about the 1-3. No, what were we talking about? It wasn't specifically about the 1-3, but it was just about sharing in general. And she's a 3-6. So I really think that part of my purpose is calling myself out on my own bullshit publicly. Like that seems to really work for me. People really resonate with that. So I love going through this process and really finding or becoming aware where I'm still out of alignment. And it usually comes, I'm a projector. It comes from the mirror of someone else when I realize, oh, wow. Like yesterday, Smiley Surfer Travis was really this mechanism of survival, and I just, for some reason, whatever it was, had some deep insight into some more qualities of myself and the ways I was hiding. So planning, that's such a tough one. I don't make plans either. Is there any more splenic people on here? I'd love to get someone else's take on plans, because I do have like visions of what I want and where I want to go and where I want to be. But I don't know if plan is the right word, because I know they're not solid, and I know I can always shift and flow and change, which is typically what happens for me. But it doesn't mean I don't have a vision of where I want to be. And sometimes it's more clear than other times. Like more recently, I really can't feel. More recently, it's really cloudy, like where I'm going and what I'm doing. Like I know my purpose, I know my passion, I know I'm going to be doing water work and human design. That's it for me. Like it's done. Like I could do this forever for free. It's just something I am so passionate about. But where I'm like planning where I'm going to go and what it's going to look like, it's impossible. I'm not even going to talk about it because I'm just going to spin. Okay, Gabby has a question. In case you're doing questions, yes, I'm doing questions. Sorry, it takes me a while to scroll through the feed as I'm talking, and I used to be so stuck in my open route that I would try to scroll as fast as I can to the bottom and answer everybody's questions, and now I just go at my own pace. So, I'm curious to know what makes someone an alpha projector and what it means to be one. Talked a lot last time about the 2551. So if you're a projector and you have the 5125 channel within a large group of people, what we call a WA in human design, this makes you an alpha projector because you are really designed to be able to guide the energy of a large group. And this is what's called an alpha projector. Now, What it means, I think we would have to get super specific into the person's chart to really understand what that means. For me, it means, well, first of all, this is a channel in individual circuitry and actually in the centering circuit, which there's only 2 channels in the centering circuit. This is the channel of the shaman. This is an energy that wants to initiate a leap into the unknown, into the void. It brings massive transformation. It brings change. These are people who are really able to center into themselves, centering circuit. So if there's a lot of chaos happening, we can just kind of center in ourselves and survive the chaos or the shock. And it's the channel of initiation. Interesting energy to have initiation as a projector who's designed to wait for the invitation. So there's something to think about there. Sasha says, yes, please. I'd love to hear about Donald Trump's chart and where we are headed. Okay, I'm going to do a thing. I'm going to do a thing on that. Any take on Trump having the cross of Eden? I didn't know his incarnation cross. That's really interesting. I haven't really studied his chart much. All I can remember is that he has the transitoriness and that he has the money line. But the fact that he has the cross of Eden, that's really interesting. Oof. Let me think on that one. Okay, Nora says she's had all sorts of jobs, not just quit the same job 5 times. What kind of jobs do you do, Nora? Petra agrees with me on the visions, but not plans. When we were talking about I'm splenic, I have visions of where I want to go, but I don't have specific plans. Chris says, I stopped planning. I make a plan, and then life happens. I learned I better not with the 4130. Yes. What's up, Sean? My buddy Sean quotes John Lennon, and he says, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. Ah, that's a beautiful one. That's what I said last time. Human design really saves us from the delusion that our minds are in control of any of this. So I can make plans as long as I'm following my strategy and authority. Life will still be happening to me, and to be present with what's present. Nora also agrees about being splenic. I'm also splenic. I have really big visions, but it's super challenging to put it into a plan, and naturally I'm very spontaneous. Yeah, okay. Splenic here. I never feel successful with planning, and I like to flow. All right. Thank you for the validation. So if you're splenic, it is hard to have plans in the small sample size that we have dealt with today. Okay, that alpha projector, Chris, says she has the left angle cross of the alpha. Oh, 731, 18, and gate 2, but I cannot be the leader or alpha of any group unless invited and recognized. Yeah. So it's interesting because we have the channel of the alpha, that is the 731, and this is more like democratic leadership. This is a channel that moves from the G center to the throat. So these are 31ers where the politicians are born. This is future oriented. It's follow me. I know the pattern that's going to bring us into a successful future. It's much more logical type of leadership. And so this is the channel of the alpha. And in small groups, in what we call a penta in human design, this channel is in charge of discipline and like the rules that are going to be followed within the family. So really interesting about this channel really quick is my godson, my sister's son, is a projector, and this is his only channel. He only has the channel of the alpha. And the voice of the alpha says, I lead. And he, from like the earliest age, has been wanting to lead this family and wanting to be the one in charge of the rules and, the disciplinarian of the family. So it is so interesting to look at a child with this channel and to watch its expression already be there. And he's 4, you're not going to let the 4-year-old decide how we're going to discipline himself in the family, but it is cool to watch human design in real life and these expressions come to the surface. Ross said something about the 731, like these are where you can kind of find the chosen ones in a certain way. And these are leaders who can very much not want to lead and be the ones who are, propped up, and they don't necessarily even look for followers, but they just have this natural leadership energy in their design that is able to be recognized by others, and then they're elected into these leadership positions. And the keynote is a design of leadership for good or for bad. That's important to put in there. Okay, Playful Being says she's also splenic. I decide on value pillars for the year. That way I'm intentional about the year, but also leave room for staying in the now and being guided by the splenic hits. I like that. Yeah, I really like that. Values are important to us. And as a projector, and that's what I was writing earlier this year of getting really, really clear on what are my one-on-one relationships like, and what are my values in relationship. Because as a projector, our relationships are what bring us success and recognition, and what really fuels our purpose in this life has to do with the other. So something I'm getting really clear on this year is, what do I want those relationships to feel like? And am I avoiding truth and confrontation when I'm in a relationship that doesn't meet that feeling? Because remember, if you're splenic, our awareness is all about health and well-being. And a great question to ask yourself if you're splenic is this frequency clean? Does it feel clean coming in? Does it feel nourishing to my physical sense of well-being and my body? The spleen is all about the body. So if you're splenic, your body is so important to you. It is your truth. And depending on if it's instinct or intuition or taste, it's always is this clean for me. And there's so many relationships where I really like the person, and sometimes it just doesn't feel clean. There's something that's off. There's something underlying that my body is not resonating with, is not enjoying in that moment. And another problem with being splenic is, hey, I'm a no for now, but just for now. I'm not a no forever. I don't not like you. Just right now, there is something going on that does not feel good for my sense of well-being, and I don't want to be around you right now. And how do you say that to somebody without rationalizing? It's difficult. Chris, your son is in the 31.5. Tell us about that. That's interesting. That makes sense with you. Likewise, Art says, as a 4/6 projector, I find it difficult to focus on personal tasks because my mind loses interest in activities where people aren't present or involved. Yeah, the 4 is the networker, the 6 is the role model. These are two transpersonal lines to have. Petra says, that was actually the topic of my sharing today. Still overstepping my instinct after such a long time of this. Yeah. Being splenic is really like being a wild animal, and it's really about living life unable to rationalize and explain your decisions to anyone. And that's really, really difficult. But I find that being splenic, if I tell people this is how I operate, if you share and let yourself be seen and say, hey, this is the experiment I'm trying and it seems to be working for me, and it's so important that I listen to this voice inside of myself. If you explain it to people and you do it in a way that is in such respect and love for yourself, it's really inspirational for other people. And 99.9% of the time, they're going to completely respect that that's your way of life, and that's your experiment right now, and that's how you're living, and it can be inspiring to them to do the same thing. I wonder where do I make decisions from? What should I be more conscious of, and how can I respect myself more? And this is something we see with the emotional center. If you're an emotional, which is 50% of humanity, in order to really honor and respect your decision-making process when it comes to big things, it's all about giving yourself time and not allowing anybody to rush you or pressure you to make a spontaneous choice, or to make a choice when you're not ready to make it. And when you articulate that and you really stand in that and you really demand that people give you the space and the time that you need to make a decision, it again inspires other people to be like, wow, they're they really know themselves. This is inspiring. And think about if that happened to you. If you wanted something from somebody, or you were pressuring them to make a decision, and someone said that to me, I would be like, wow, I'm okay, I want you even more. And this is the thing about when we do honor ourselves, it does create attraction. It gets you out of need. It gets you out of lack. It gets you out of FOMO. It gets you out of scarcity. If I really honor that I need to wait, or I need to make this decision, I don't know why, but it's just, it's what I can trust. Yeah, it really creates a frequency that is so attractive to other people because it's honest. And we all resonate with truth, even if we don't like it. Nora wants to do her own thing, but somehow she's not there yet. Why aren't you there yet? What do you need to get there? Lisa says, my day job requires me to rationalize my decisions. Laugh out loud. Yeah, that's a tough one. And I can really rationalize my decisions. Don't get me wrong. But I know if I can rationalize my decision, it's not coming from my spleen. But if we're not in immediate danger, or I really don't think that the spleen's firing all the time. It comes in when it really needs to protect us, and when there's really a frequency that's not healthy for us, or something that's not clean, or something that is going to lead us towards our purpose and fulfillment of that. But for a lot of the mundane decisions that we need to make in this life, the spleen doesn't really give a shit. Gabby says she's emotional, learning to make it a no by default if there's not enough time. The FOMO is real, though. Learning to trust that it will still be there if it's correct for me. Yeah. It's all a game of trust and surrender, isn't it? Chris says, bosses hate me. I get projected on a lot. More negative than positive, and I just want to be able to do my own thing. It seems like I'm a walking trigger. Interesting. Maybe some things to look at there. Okay, it's 11. I think I'm just about done. I didn't go on as many crazy rants as I did last time. That's kind of nice. How are you guys feeling? If you love my content and want to support me, you can always send a tip via my link tree on my Instagram, or become a subscriber, unless you're Gabby, where you cannot become a subscriber because you're on the wait list. Yeah, and then these replays are going to be up on YouTube. The last week's is already up on YouTube and on my podcast also. So if you haven't subscribed, it really helps me out a lot. I'm trying to get my YouTube going, and I need 1,000 subscribers to start to monetize that. And it seems fun for me at the moment, so that's kind of what I'm going towards. So if you haven't, find me on YouTube at Travis Day Human Design, and then I'll be reposting this on my stories. You guys can help me out there too as well. Petra's falling asleep. It's 8 p.m. Hey, projector life. I understand. No, I don't think that's specifically a projector thing, but we are designed to go to sleep before we're tired, to invite sleep to come to us. But that's a whole other topic for another day. All right, beautiful people. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Gabby, thank you. Thanks for all your questions and your vulnerable sharing today. And maybe that's how we'll leave it. This new year, Let's overshare. Let's be vulnerable. The emotional frequency is going to be intense anyways, so we might as well let it all out and watch what happens, see where it lands. Okay, till next time. See you later.